All right, joining us now for more is Ken Cuccinelli, former DHS acting deputy secretary. Ken, thanks for joining me. Listen, I mean, we have over 3,000 people on a march up to our border, almost 2 million people that come into the country this year alone. And, you know, obviously Texas is bearing a big brunt of the cost of the migration that comes through their state. So they asked Joe Biden, hey, maybe FEMA should help us with this crisis at our border. Right. They've been turned down. So does it make sense that actually Texas should bear the cost and not Joe Biden for the failed policies of immigration?
Well, certainly it isn't fair that that is happening, but you know, that was a decision. It's particularly unfair in light of the fact that the Biden administration is effectively causing this. You heard from your interview with your reporter that they feel like they're being called up by Joe Biden. Come on up, we want you to come here, and so forth. And that is obviously a major force behind the difference from a year ago, where we had cut these numbers way down, to now, where they're essentially attracting record numbers of illegal immigrants to invade this country. And Texas is bearing the brunt of it because, for the simple reason that it's the easiest one to get to. And if you're not barred from entry, why not go the easiest path? And that's what they're doing. It's what the cartels are arranging. And let's not forget, they play a big role in the paths that people take up into the United States.
Yeah, and the Trump administration, which you're a part of, put a lot of pressure on Mexico to help secure our border and turn the migration back. And it was very successful. And they did, right. And well, why would Mexico get involved now when Joe Biden says the border's open? What's Mexico to do but just to let them march on through? But I mean, I think it's interesting, you know, as you look at people that come into Texas or Arizona, the Biden administration uses our tax money to fly them around the country. At our expense. And so almost every state, every community has become a border state or a border community. So, I mean, do you have any advice? What can Americans do to protect the homeland in their states and in their communities to push back on this radical vision of open borders from Biden and Democrats?
Well, Center for Renewing America, we released a paper today pointing out the constitutional authority that border states in particular have when the federal government, which under Article 4 of the Constitution, is obligated to protect all states from invasion. Well, Texas is being invaded, as is Arizona, New Mexico, and California. They're not fulfilling their obligations. Your reporter demonstrated with the interview there. They're in fact being invited by the federal government to invade this country. And then under Article 1, the states have the authority, when they are actually being invaded like this, to push back. There are self-help provisions. It is not immigration, Sean. I want to be very clear. But it is a constitutional authority for governors as their commanders-in-chief to stop these people at the border and either push them back into Mexico or stop them from coming in the first place in between legal ports of entry.
And we covered this earlier in the show, but when you offer 8 to 10 million people amnesty, make them Americans with voting rights, that's just a greater incentive to have more people come to our borders. But I want to shift gears on you. I want to go to Virginia. So I ran for Congress, and when I ran for Congress, I had a lot of offers for surrogates to come and help me out in central and northern Wisconsin. Some of them didn't fit my district, and so I said, no, thanks for the offer, but I don't want you to come. So later this week, Joe Biden is going to go campaign with Terry McAuliffe. You know Virginia well. You're from there. How will Joe Biden play campaigning for Joe Biden? Is he going to help him? Is Biden going to help McAuliffe out, or is he going to hurt him when they stump together in Virginia?
No, this is astonishing on all parts. I mean, Terry McAuliffe himself said earlier in this campaign that Joe Biden is a burden to his campaign because of their incompetence, and people are seeing what these radical left-wing policies really create: chaos and failure. And yet, the president is coming, and what that tells you is that McAuliffe is panicked. He doesn't see a path to victory. Glenn Youngkin has him on the ropes, as does the whole Republican ticket. This feels like a victory in Virginia. I've won and I've lost statewide in Virginia, and this is what winning feels like. It feels like what today feels like a week out from Election Day. And so you've got the president coming in, terribly unpopular, just across the Potomac, as I tell people, God put the Potomac there for a reason. We should respect it. Well, they're not respecting it. They're bringing Joe Biden in, and I don't think it's going to help him. I mean, everybody else in Virginia is going to see it where Biden isn't popular, and they're going to associate McAuliffe with these failed policies. Now, that's consistent with McAuliffe's own record as governor. Last time he ran, he beat me by 2 points, but he had no record. Now he has a record, and it's a bad record. It's not a record of someone you would rehire if you were doing hiring. And that's what Glenn Youngkin is beating into the ground right now.
And that's why Democrats in Washington are trying to quickly pass this infrastructure bill that's bipartisan. But when you say Terry McAuliffe is panicked, you're right, because the most recent polling we have is Glenn Youngkin is 48%, Terry McAuliffe is 48%. This should have been a blowout for Democrats, for Terry McAuliffe, but he has been such a bad candidate. Democrats have failed in Washington that this is actually a race. And Youngkin has been a great candidate. So just, I want to give you, I got to go shortly, but what issues are animating voters in Virginia as we, come 1 week away from Election Day?
Sure. The explosive issue that the whole country has seen is education. Loudoun County, Virginia has been a flashpoint, and that's outside the governor's race. So when you combine it with the governor's race, you get one candidate, McAuliffe, who doesn't want parents involved. You get Glenn Youngkin, who wants to give parents control. It's central to the race, along with the difference on law enforcement and just basic jobs and opportunity, where you've got a successful businessman like Glenn Youngkin against a 40-year political animal, Terry McAuliffe, who failed last time as governor. It's really an imbalance on the three critical issues of the race, all in Glenn Youngkin's favor.
All in his favor. And Ken, you know this as a parent, and you as a parent, when you go after our kids, you will see people who don't care about politics all of a sudden get really animated. Right. Some people who never vote are actually going to go to the polls and make sure that their voices are heard with their own children. Yeah, go ahead.
When the mama bears are out and fighting, by golly, you want to be on the side of the mama bears or you're going to get mauled. And Terry McAuliffe's getting mauled.
Do not get in front of mama bears. You want to be on their side. That's for sure. You're right.
Way.
It's going to be an interesting race. Ken, thank you for your insights on the border and in Virginia.
Sure.